Welcome to episode 401 of the TTE Podcast. Reading Football Club on the pitch saw out a very turbulent 2024 with a nice win, really, against Mansfield at the Madstad yesterday. 2-1 win for the Royals. Here to discuss that and a mega quiz and the year that we've had and all the other stuff that we've got going on is Ross, of course, as always. But we're joined today by our very, very good friend, Ryan. Ryan, let's start with you. How are you, first of all? You've been a busy boy for the club, haven't you?
I have been a very busy boy. Listeners will have to excuse my nasally voice. I have got a bit of the Christmas cold at the moment, but I've been good, thank you, Ben. I've been up to all sorts, filming accessible areas, filming bits for the club. It's been a good few weeks. Been doing it since end of October now, and good few wins for Noel the last two games as well, so it's been good to capture those.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later on. 100% win record, by the way, since Noel has appeared on this podcast, episode 400, which is available wherever you get your podcast from still. Not saying that we're solely responsible for the 6 points we picked up over the festive period so far. Surely you've got a big hand in it, Ross. Surely.
Given what we've realised about what's happened to the club since the pod started, it's, in general, I think we'll take any win that we can get. So, yeah, 100% record since Noel came on the pod. Definitely think, that we can claim just one iota of credit there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about the history of the pod. Obviously, the 400th episode was not supposed to be the 400th episode, but then I messed it up by calling it the 400th episode. It was supposed to be a special, but we've got kind of the other bits that we had planned for the 400th episode today on episode 401. You haven't gone back in time. Don't worry. We've got awards to do for the calendar year. We've got a quiz that Ross had devised, which is probably going to stitch me up massively. And Ryan was delighted when he found out it was just the last 10 years in terms of the pod running.
There's no such thing as a Mark McGee in my quiz. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. Yeah. There's what is a Mark McGee? That's the question, or not the question even in this quiz. So we're going to get into that shortly. Before we do that, we're going to recap a very nice win against Mansfield at home yesterday. Big thanks, as always, to ZC Films for their sponsorship and their goodwill and their just general greatness, really. Really appreciate what they do. We believe that Valdemar is still got his series on repeat on Sky Arts. If that's not available, I'm sure he can have something else. He wrote a piece about Christmas trees, the history of Christmas trees, which was, I think was in the Times, maybe? Not sure, I'll have to check. But it looked like quite a good article, so check that out online. Just search his name and Christmas trees and it'll come up in your Google search engines or whatever. So,
good,
that's
it's good touch typing practice as well, typing his name in. So
exactly. It's got all the letters.
Yeah. All of them.
It's a regular thing for me to correct on the Riverside auto captions when I edit these podcasts. So
there you go.
That's
it's like an extended episode of Countdown with his name. So we love him. We love ZC Films. We love all the things they do for us, and hopefully we're keeping pace with the quality of output that we put out with this pod. But anyway, we're going to get into it. Mansfield, the Stags, 2-1 for Noel Hunt's team. We'll be back after this very short break.
Hi guys, Adam Jones here. I just want to say a massive congratulations to the Tilehurst End for reaching episode number 400 of the podcast. It's a remarkable achievement. I started listening to the podcast many years ago, and I'm still enjoying it to this day. I know that I'm a bit of a latecomer compared to others. I think I started writing for the website in 2018 or 2019. But it's been an absolute pleasure to be part of the Tilehurst End. I met a great set of people, made some very fond memories. And it's really shaped my career as well. And I've made some fantastic friends. So I would recommend anyone who wants to get involved in the podcast to definitely get involved. Just well done to everyone for everything they've done. Fantastic achievement, and well done to you, Ben and Ross, for keeping it going.
Welcome back to episode 401 of the Tilehurst End podcast. as you just had there, Adam Jones, the legend that is Adam Jones. I'm going to call him Jonesy then, but that would be a rubbish nickname to give him. Currently involved with Sell Before We Die, very heavily involved actually. They were down at Blue Collar yesterday, to talk about what's going on with potential protests and the state of the club, and been very heavily involved with that, Adam. And obviously, as regular listeners will know, he was a guest quite a lot, before we took over the pod. That sounds like we got a vendetta against him. We haven't. He's just been very, very busy with other stuff. So we'll get him on at some point. But, he's obviously did an awful lot in terms of written content for the Tilehurst 10 as well. So, yeah, really appreciate his kind messages on the 400th episode. 401 now of this podcast. Been going for 10 years, would you believe? August 2013.
This is a 400.5 or 400B. 400.
Yeah, 400B. Yeah, along those lines anyway. But we've got a few more.
To be honest, if we're going to randomly be like, oh, we've got the 400th coming up for 10 weeks beforehand and then biff it like we did, you could do worse than having the manager as, in the first part. So let's just say part one, which is pretty great. And also, like I said on Bluesky yesterday, do go back and have a listen to that, even if you listened to it previously, because post wins, I found that a very interesting conversation. Obviously before that, it was all not doom and gloom, but he didn't have a win yet. So it's just kind of interesting to go back and revisit.
Look, in terms of timeline, it fitted in really well. We could have come on earlier, but actually coming on, when the 400th was due, in inverted commas, and coming off the back of the Blackpool loss, which was horrendous, and then Lincoln, which was arguably even worse. It was kind of like, we were like, how's this going to go? What do we say? Yeah. But it's worth a listen. Look, we're trying to get a variety of people on this year. We've had Sellers on before he left, Noel Hunt, very recently in the job full time. So we've got other people lined up as well. So we're just trying to give you a range, and it is interesting. It was interesting to talk about him, and it's great that he's been able to get 2 wins on the bounce, really. One of which, Ryan, was yesterday. Obviously, we're recording this on Monday night. We're in that period of time where we don't really know what day it is. We're kind of just working on dates at the moment, but it is Monday currently. So, the game was on Sunday. 2-1 win. Goals from Kamara in the 17th minute, and then a quite spectacular finish from Tyler Bindon in the 55th, 56th minute. Which puts back in the lead after Will Evans scored for Mansfield just on the stroke of half time for them. Hard fought win, really. What did you? I know it's difficult because obviously you're working in terms of doing the media and the photos and the videos that you put up and everything else. But what did you make of the game overall in terms of the balance of play?
It was a gutsy, hard-working performance in which I wouldn't say Reading were consistently the better team throughout 90 minutes. I get a very different viewpoint now because I'm so as you said, I'm very focused on what I'm filming, so I don't get a chance to sort of analyse and pick apart as much. But from what I remember watching the highlights back today, there definitely wasn't a period in time where the odd period where Reading looked sort of the better and more dominant team, but we hung in there, we stuck it out. 2 very good goals. Kamara's, first of all, a lovely ball through from Wing and a good finish from him, and then Bindon as well, randomly channeling his inner Wayne Rooney and pulling out a bicycle kick, which was very nice. And they held on. Mansfield, I say Reading were dominant. I wouldn't say Mansfield were particularly dominant either. I may be wrong in saying that. I don't remember them having too many chances. Their header was a brilliant header, to be fair, from quite far out. It was a good finish, but overall, I think it was good value, and I wouldn't say we were lucky, but we were fortunate in some aspects to come out, I'd say, with 3 points. On another day, that could have very easily been a point, but it's testament to the boys and testament to Noel that we've come out with 3 points. And they all were very relieved and very happy at the end. So, yeah, good to see.
Yeah, I mean, we deliberately avoided not talking about Northampton, which obviously was a great win, but that was Boxing Day. That was well past in terms of where this pod is coming out. And, very, very different team we're playing in terms of Mansfield, obviously higher up in the league. But I was very impressed with what they did yesterday. And, I said in the post-match video that I did that I actually felt they were the better team overall. I think they had something like 65, 66% possession. That certainly in the midfield area, they used the ball a lot better and certainly the transitions in terms of getting their strikers involved. Wasn't too keen on their number 9 playing in defence, I have to say. Disgusting use of numbers on shirts. Honestly, I was like, is that number 9 at the back there? And it was horrendous.
That is bad.
It was awful. But I was very, very impressed with Mansfield. And I think if I was if I'd come down to the game and certainly from there, the team and the management point of view, I'd be pretty disappointed, Ross, with not picking up, a point, let alone the 3. Ryan's pretty much summed it up there in terms of calling it gutsy and hard fought, and it was in spells, really. Defensively we were okay until they scored the goal, which, as Ryan pointed out, was a great header, but was wholly avoidable if you cut the cross out from the left-hand side. What did you make of our midfield in particular in the game, and why did they find it difficult to literally get the ball rolling, as it were?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I don't know that any of the midfielders were exceptional in this game. So Wing had fewer than 60 touches. He tends to have more than 100 in most games. So obviously the possession was really in favor of Mansfield, but that really, tells you, that the Reading's most important players in possession just didn't have a lot of the ball. Mansfield playing a sort of like back 3 structure, which had some very wide elements to it. And obviously that led to a lot of crosses into the box, more on the left side for us than on the right side in particular. And I thought it was really interesting. So Charlie Escourt's on the comms right now for BBC Berkshire. She's great.
She's really good. Welsh international as well.
Welsh international, just in case you wanted to know. But also, brilliant player over here in the US. I want to mention that part. So, I've talked a little bit earlier in this year about how I think we have trouble against back 3s. I think that's a lot because we struggle with wide play, especially down our left side. She pointed out, though, the up front, when they have 2 up front, that can sometimes be an issue for Reading. And I think the reason for that is because, Wing having so if we look at Wing having so much fewer touches in this particular game, I think that's partially because there's more players around him, just kind of in that area. It's harder for Reading to get the ball into Wing in spaces where he can help build up. I think that he managed it kind of in the first 15 minutes or so of the game, where I thought he was really continuing on from his good performance against Northampton, but then kind of went off the boil for the rest of the game. And perhaps that 2 up top structure was kind of what was causing him a little bit of an issue there. So I think that's part of what was going on, maybe the 2 up top. I do also think that there is some truth in what Noel has been saying about teams playing over the top of Reading a lot more in recent weeks. They are very happy to smash the ball forward towards often our left back spot. It was really Garcia in when he was playing, but also Craig a little bit too. Teams are just happy to throw the ball up there and play from a knockdown or something like that, and it just cuts out the entire midfield. So I think that's part of it. The midfield are just getting less of the ball, and when you get less of the ball, you're going to have less confidence. You're going to have, just a little less or fewer opportunities to do something with it. So front 2 causing Wing issues in build-up, I think, but also I think there is some truth in what Noel was saying about that ball being played over the top of Reading's midfield quite consistently.
Well, let's stick with you, Ross, a minute, because I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you, really. So I'm looking at your ratings. I'm looking at your ratings from yesterday. Quite rightly, Tyler Bindon with an 8. Man of the match, or chap of the match, as I like to call him. Superb. I mean, we know that you don't need any excuse to talk about Tyler Bindon, and he was exceptional yesterday. He really was. I think I tweeted actually before he scored the goal that he was one of the best, if not the best, defenders in the league. And then he pops up with a goal like that. Outstanding player. And whether or not he leaves in January, it's pointless to speculate. But with 6 months left on his contract, it's highly unlikely that we will see him, in a Reading shirt next season, put it that way. At best, he stays for the next 6 months or whatever. So looking at your midfield, you gave Lewis Wing a 6. You gave Harvey Nibbs a 6. You gave Chem Campbell a 6. But you gave Charlie Savage a 5. Why? Why does he get a 5?
Yeah. There we go. Ryan agrees too. So
no, he agrees with me. I just saw him. He made eye contact with me then.
I don't know. I agree with Ross, but I would have had. Sorry to interrupt quickly. I would have had Harvey Nibbs slightly lower with Savage. Anyway, sorry, Ross.
I didn't think
Why did you get 5, Ross? You've hurt my feelings.
The thing that's tricky with Savage is and I've said this on, so bear with Ben, because I've said this on text a million times, is I think it's an issue for Savage that the left side has been much more up for grabs for Reading this year. So the left back hasn't really been set, the left winger hasn't really been set, and Savage is just better playing on the left side of midfield because he is, a natural left footer. The last time we spoke about him, I was complimenting him because I said it's good to have a left footer on the left side of midfield. I do think that he hasn't been able to form as much of a partnership with either of those players, any of the players on the left, that there is between, say, Craig and Chem Campbell on the right, between what now looks like Nibs and Chem Campbell on the right as well. I think that right moves a little bit better for Reading. That is where most of their attack goes. So there are less opportunities, fewer opportunities. I've said that wrong one time in the last couple of minutes. Anyway, there are few opportunities for him to impact a game, and that comes out in the results. So if you look at yesterday, I'm trying to pull the numbers up very, very quickly here. But Charlie Savage had far, far, far fewer duels attempted than Harvey Nibs on the other side of the field. So with the in-possession stuff, I think the connections on the field are really important. And I think the players who have good connections with other players around them on the field are naturally going to do better because they just are playing with guys that are going to put them in situations that help more often. But I also think off the ball, that midfield, we need them to do a lot. We are asking the midfield to do an awful lot, kind of like I spoke about in the wake of the Blackpool game. So here we go, got it pulled up now. Charlie Savage won 2 of his 8 challenges against Mansfield Town. Harvey Nibs on the other side of the field, 28 challenges, and he won 14 of them. So gets involved in 20 more challenges. I do, again, think that's partly because more play goes down that side of the field. But even when it is going down that, I don't think it's so much that there are 20 more challenges worth just from circumstance. I think that's because Harvey Nibs is doing what he does. So, it's tough. I think the Savage is now going to get a lot of time in the team if he stays in January, because it seems like Noel really likes him. And I like having him on the left side of midfield. Again, I think that's a great place for him to be. When Kelvin comes back, if Kanu keeps starting on that left back position, I think things will only get better for Savage. But at this particular moment in time, Nibs is a far superior player out of possession, in my opinion.
It'd be interesting to look at the distance covered by both players. I don't have that to hand, to be honest. But, what I saw yesterday, certainly from Savage, was an awful lot of running off the ball in terms of putting the pressure on, in terms of trying to disrupt the rhythm without actually getting the ball. So granted, you can talk about the challenges and the duels and everything else, but in terms of the pressure and off the ball, I didn't see anyone else in the team doing as much as him. And I get, justify why you're giving him, because it's subjective, right? It's just ratings. That's all it is. But it's just interesting that he was the one who seems to stand out from there. And I think by and large, that's been my perception of him within the fan base in terms of people expecting him to do an awful lot. And, Ross made the point there, Brian, about the midfield having to do an awful lot generally at the moment. And, my perception since Noel has come in is that, to use an Americanism, offensively, we've not been great. Sam Smith has had to do a lot of work off the ball. We can talk about referees all we want, but I don't think he's been treated particularly well by them at all. Particularly yesterday, there were some ridiculous decisions that went against him when, in reality, they probably could have gone for him. Do you think that our midfield in general, and Savage to a point, is suffering a little bit because he doesn't look quite right in an attacking sense at the moment? Or is this just a phase that the team are going through in terms of transition from the previous manager to what Noel Hunt wants us to do, basically?
I think there's always going to be a conception amongst football fans that unless certain players are posting sort of your attacking numbers of goals or assists, they may not be contributing as much, if that makes sense. But defensively, I think they've been doing fine. As you've said, we are missing Ben Elliott's creativity massively. It's definitely an area where Savage we say that, but he has had the most direct goal involvements. I'm kind of contradicting myself here. I saw Robbie tweet something around him having the most direct goal involvements in the whole running squad or something. There is that. Offensively, yes, they could be doing a little bit more. We didn't create a whole lot from open play yesterday at all. Wings... ball through to Kamara, brilliant. And obviously Binden's goal was from a set piece, but apart from that, I don't really remember Reading having too many out-and-out chances. Charlie's recent goal involvements have been shots from the edge of the box, which he's great at, but...
Shot from him from the edge of the box, again, is the only one I can think of. The other, yeah.
And obviously he scored against Northampton as well on Boxing Day from outside the box. So yeah, the midfield are being asked of a lot, and they don't get rotated as well. There is that.
Yeah.
the depth in midfield isn't necessarily there as much at the moment. I mean, there isn't much depth across the pitch, but the left back seems to get changed at least once a game. The midfielders, Rashisha came on a bit on Boxing Day, looked lively, but apart from that, they don't get rotated at all. So there is that as well, which obviously plays a factor, I think.
Yeah. I think, by the way, just a little small silver lining to Ben Elliott being hurt right now is that it means it's pretty unlikely we'll lose him in January, and still may lose him in the summer, obviously, because he has more time on his contract. So there's value to sell there. The benefit there is that when he comes back in whatever it will be, February, we should at least be able to enjoy him for, 10, 15 games and get the best out of him.
I mean, you both made a good point there about the left-hand side in terms of the game. I mean, certainly around me, people yesterday were growing increasingly frustrated with Kanu up until the equaliser from Mansfield, which, to be honest, is, without being too harsh, it's basic defending to go and try and cut that cross out. And we said this last season, there were points when we just didn't do that. Do you, I mean, the question to either of you, what is the solution at the moment based on the current pool of players that we have fit and available to what is increasingly becoming a left-back conundrum? What can we do currently with the players that we've got? Is there a kind of a way that we can solve it? For example, with like a Michael Craig going to right-back as he did at the start of the season and has pretty much stayed there ever since. Is there a consistent solution to that, or is it we just got to wait until Dorset comes back, or we go into an emergency loan market in January? What is the goal here in terms of that position?
So
game state in my eyes. Sorry,
yeah,
Ross.
well, I want to hear what you have to say about that because that's interesting. But I'm just going to quickly, I'm not upset with Kanu. I think Kanu's been pretty good at the 2 games that he's in. I don't think he's nearly as exciting to watch as Garcia. I think that he's doing a sort of 7 out of 10 Jeriel Dorset impression. More than he is, playing as a left back necessarily. But I think I put this on Bluesky yesterday. If you look at kind of like the average positioning for him, he gets a lot sort of like deeper into his own box and more central than Craig. So I think that him being there is allowing Craig to move higher up, which is, again, partially why more of the play can go down the right side, because that is the side that we're sending the fullback high on. So I think he did all right. I mean, so Reading, I think Mansfield won like 60% of the aerial duels yesterday or something like that. Kanu's won around 60% by himself. So in a game where things were going the other way, Kanu was winning aerial challenges, which is something that I don't think Garcia's done a great job of so far, personally.
Ryan?
Yeah. So I'd agree with Ross in the sense of Kanu, I would say, is probably more of the solution, especially as a backup to Dorset. It wasn't his best game yesterday. I mean, the goal we conceded, you could probably attribute it.
He's got to be out faster for that, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be out faster, but then again, he is kind of being overloaded in the sense that there's 2 players over there. The number 7 brings it nicely, but he does need to stop the cross quicker.
Real quick, interesting from our previous other point that it was, I think in the replay, you can see it's Savage, like yelling like, hey, you need to be out here, like challenging this guy here. So again, there's like Savage with his left-sided, partner being like, oh, fraud. And like, I haven't played with this guy for like 10 games in a row. So we don't
say crud
down. Yeah, I couldn't think, I'm always confused.
It's not the 1990 Simpson, mate. Like, what are you doing? I've never heard that word for years.
Don't have a cow, man.
All
right. Yeah, I don't know where I was anymore. So, yeah.
And just quickly on the game state point that I mentioned, I think Garcia and Kanu is very much dependent on where we are within the game. If we're chasing, then it 100% makes sense to stick Garcia on at left back. But I'll be deadly honest, I was a tad worried with the substitution yesterday when Kanu came off for Garcia, especially when we were winning, because I thought Mansfield quite good in the air by all stretch of the means. They're just going to target Garcia. They're going to send those balls over, and is Garcia going to be able to handle it aerially, which, to be fair, he did. There wasn't too much of an issue, but I definitely say Garcia is the solution when you're chasing a game or playing so-called weaker opponents where you're looking to attack them a bit more. But when you need to sit in, when you need to be a bit more defensive, when they're going to be a bit more aerially dominant, you're going to want Kanu until Dorset's back.
I mean, one thing I would say, and I think we're all agreed, is that actually when you look at the current crop of players and they're all fit, Dorset's number 1 in that position. No one else is touching. And I didn't think I'd be saying that 11 months ago. when he had a pretty horrendous time at Oxford away. Like he was pretty bad that day, and I was like, I don't know, I really don't know what the solution is here. But it just goes to show his perseverance with the injuries that he's had, but also how well, the collective coaching staff that we've had over the last sort of 12 months have developed him into a player where he's number one choice in that position. And I didn't think that would be the case. So, fair play to him. For what it's worth, I thought Kanu was okay yesterday. I don't think he was too bad. I mean, yeah, we talked about the goal and we could continue to talk about the goal, but it's just one of those things. And I thought he recovered quite well from that afterwards, But again, I like Garcia. I think Garcia is an excellent player. I really do. When he came on, he ran the ball and he brought everyone else some breathing space and obviously won the foul. It's good stuff, and I think, again, it's one of those where you have to remind yourself, in there that they're still young players, right? And it's still a learning curve. And actually what you need is those leaders around them, talk about Savage, talked about Wing previously, talked about Nibs, all these players around them to go, this is what we're doing. Pereira a couple of weeks ago having a go at, I think it was Garcia. And then he was, actually, he's 16 years old. Like, I might just back off a little bit here, in terms of one of those. So I don't think he was too bad. I really don't. I think they all did all right yesterday. I don't think there was only one player that really stood out. I thought, actually, horrendous.
Interestingly, there are 2 yellow cards yesterday for Mansfield, and both came from one of those 2 players that we were just discussing, Garcia and Kanu, bursting forward from the fullback position and getting all the way into the other half, and then getting pulled down. Yellow cards for both of those players again. So kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just to wrap up, fantastic result. Really, really good result. Really good to end. I think that's 50 points for the calendar year at home, which is quite incredible, really, when you think about it. It's been a wonderful year at home, particularly for the team on the pitch, given everything that's gone on. We'll talk about it in the awards, after the break we're going to have. But we had a pitch invasion that postponed a game in January. And we still managed to recover from that and keep going and keep it all together. So a credit to this group of players. And come what may in January, it's been on the pitch, it's been a great home session, really, in terms of getting to 50 points. In terms of where we are now, very close to that golden 50 points in the league this season. So all we need to do, as Noel Hunt said on the pod, last week with us, I would agree with that. I think these are really positive results. 2 away games now before a little break, before we play Burnley in the Cup, and really, on the pitch, we're in all right place. I think we're probably a lot higher up than most people thought we'd be. So, yeah, long may it continue. We're going to have a very short break. Are we going to have a little thing from someone? Is it?
Yeah, we'll have another little jingle-y thing. Yeah.
So no one will know who Dan is. It's Wim, basically. Wimby sent us in a nice little voice note. So we're going to play that now. And then we're going to do our 2024 awards, which regular, I was going to say readers, but listeners will know that we do this every year. So we're going to get the boys' opinions and some of our writers' opinions as well on those as well. Let's hear from Wim, and then we'll get straight into the awards.
Happy 400th episode, the Tilehurst Podcast. Fantastic to have reached such a milestone. Having been there at number 1 and then a few along the way to 399. It's just been amazing to see how this podcast has grown. All the different voices we've had on, all the different guests. Through thick and thin, this podcast has been there, whether it's the COVID shutdown, playoff finals, relegations, protests. We've always been there to reflect on the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So look, absolutely amazing achievement. Thank you for letting me be a part of this till this day. Here's to 400 more.
Welcome back to episode 401 of the Tilehurst Podcast, or as Ross said off air, 400 point B or something. Second part 400 anyway, but heard from Wim there. He's being very, very modest there. He said, thank you for letting me be a part of it. Well, to my knowledge, it was him and Alan West who did the first one. Yeah. So without those 2 trailblazers, it's like,
that's how we get to say we've done a 400th episode.
It's like, oh yeah, no. And we just so happened to be in the hot seat, God knows who it's going to be on, 450, let alone 500. But it's just the way he's like, thanks for letting me be a part of it. You started it, mate. You and Westy started it. So thank you, as always, to you guys for showing us how it's done, really. And obviously we've had a number of hosts over the years, really. We took over from Mark Mayo in the summer of 23, I think.
2023, yeah.
So yeah, look, it's been, from our point of view, it's been fantastic to be part of it, and it's been a privilege, even though it's been possibly the most turbulent point over the last 10 years.
Save
We'll
that
talk about
for the "is the pod to blame" section.
exactly, yeah. Well, this is what the quiz is called that we're going to do after the awards. But
Yeah.
as you all know, we tend to do our kind of yearly awards. We don't tend to do season ones. We do kind of calendar years, and we're looking back over the last 12 months effectively. So the first category is Player of the Year. Previous winners: Alex McCarthy, Jordan Abita. What a player he was! Absolutely fantastic player. Oliver Norwood, Al Habsi, Liam Moore. I mean, this was a dark year, 2018. John Danny Budvarson. I mean, that must have been, no disrespect to him, but crikey, that's a stretch. Ovi Ajaria, Michael Morrison, John Swift, to name a few. So, Players of the Year, chaps. Ryan, let's start with you, mate.
I think there's only one true answer, and that's Lewis Wing. Lewis Wing is he's sensational, isn't he? He is by far and away the talisman of this team. He's scored screamers for fun all year. He's been a joy to watch. He's made everything tick in this side, and I genuinely think you take him out of the team, you've got no one else to replace him. And it's been like that for the entire year. And there's arguments for Harvey Nibbs, maybe, but I'd argue maybe a Sam Smith just for the importance of the side. But Lewis Wing for me in terms of talisman, goals, assists, free kicks, 40-yard screamers, whatever you want, he's got it in store and is safely in one of my favourite ever running players' 11s.
I mean, I think realistically looking at our writers as well, so Wim said Lewis Wing, Adam said Nibbs just because Wim suggested Wing. Trying to be difficult. Mark Mayo, Lewis Wing. Ollie said Lewis Wing as well. Tim said Harvey effing Nibbs. Don't want to swear, I'm not really uncouth.
Big fraud, like
Ryan,
a real gentleman.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ryan, you've obviously gone for Wing as well, which I get. Ross, any advances on Lewis Wing?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Tyler Binden.
Of course you are. So predictable, like an open book, a terrible book that I put back on the shelf.
Ben, you Charlie Savage.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah,
no.
After picking.
Yeah, exactly. Just pick our favourite players and see what happens. I mean, let's. I mean, obviously, you've made the point there for Lewis Wing quite well there, Ryan. Why Tyler Binden for you, Ross?
All right, so I think what Ryan said there that was really good about Wing is that you can't replace him. And I agree with that. There's no ready-to-go replacement for Wing in this team. There are players that have elements of his ability as a single six, but there's nobody who has everything ready to go. It would be a huge issue if he left in January. I don't know that it's at all clear it's going to be okay if Tyler Binden leaves in January. I don't know that there's a passing centre back ready to go for Reading to replace him. We all know about how good he is with his passing, with his confidence on the ball. This year, he's added in a physical side to his game, which wasn't present in 2023, and it's just turned him into he's just a fantastic player. He has now comparable carrying stats to Mbenge. A man who regularly goes on mazy runs into the opposition half. He's the player with the most carries for Reading this year, Tyler Binden. He has 55 more clearances than Mbenge. He's got more blocks, more interceptions. He does have less tackles. That's what Mbenge wins. But even, next to a pretty good athletic defender like Mbenge, he looks good. He wins 70% of his aerial duels. If we didn't have that in our team, we would be in huge trouble with what we have going on with the aerial duels, with the fullbacks. And it's just incredible. When I was realizing a few weeks ago, we're trying out all of these options alongside him in defense that are like, oh, these are rookies. I'm not sure this is going to work out. They're all older than him. It's insane that he's doing this all while he's 19. So just an incredible player destined for very high things, in my opinion. Yes, it's a meme at this point for the pod that I always pick Tyler, but he is outstanding. I could have picked him for this or for the most improved player, but it's Tyler Binden. Amazing, amazing player.
Well, let's come on to the most improved player, because this one, for me is the most difficult to call at the moment, because you could make an argument for any one of the players that are currently in the starting 11 and, regularly in the starting 11. Previous winners, to name a few, Jake Cooper, Nick Blackman, who we, Ross interviewed earlier on this year, actually, on the pod. Gareth McCleary, interesting one. Yaku Mate, Omar Richards. Forgot he played for us. What a player he was. Omar Richards, fantastic. Luke Southwood. I mean, where'd you start with most improved player this time? Just to give you a little rundown very quickly. Wim says Bindon. Adam Jones says Chem Campbell improved in a short space of time, which is a good point. I'd written him off, a couple of weeks ago, and now he's one of the first names on the team sheet. Ben Elliott from Mark Mayo. Ollie says Ben Elliott again. Sim says Tyler Bindon. I mean, for me, people might raise their eyebrows at this, but I'm going to say Joel Pereira because, no one wanted him. No one wanted him at the club at all. And then obviously Button was Button. Joel Pereira has won us or kept us as many points as any other player. You talk about Charlie Savage in terms of his goal involvement this season, and I think he would be in that mix. But for me, it's Joel Pereira. Has to be Joel Pereira. I don't know what you guys think.
I've got Joel Pereira. That's what I've got as well. Yeah. Have you got Joel Pereira?
I don't have Joel Pereira.
Okay, well, you go.
For my one.
Okay. But again, he was a car crash. Absolute car crash at the start of the year. He was an absolute liability. And now, I mean, yesterday was fantastic. He wasn't quite as good as Bindon, but he was excellent. So there were so many players you could look at. I mean, you talk about Michael Craig, really. I didn't think he was particularly good in midfield, but actually, he's been all right at right back. Like, he's been really, really consistent. Not Murty levels consistent or, Chris Gunter levels consistent. And I'm saying that because I know everyone hates him and I think he's great. But, there are so many players in that team that you could look at. If he was still here, you could probably chuck Sellers in as like most improved. Do you know what I mean? Because he did not know what he was doing, this time last year. And then they kind of went on this run, which, massive part of getting 50 points at home in particular. So there are so many players you could pick for that.
Yeah.
I don't know who else could we talk about?
Well, can I give a quick bit on why I've got Pereira? Because I agree, with the, obviously he, in terms of the Reading situation, obviously there's he has just made what had been a very up and down and mostly down goalkeeping situation for the past 4 or 5 years. He's made it much more consistent than it has been for quite a long time. But Reading have been, I've been, kind of not sounding the alarm, but kind of talking a little bit about how they were kind of falling off a little defensively even before Sellers left. And Pereira has covered up an awful lot of that, in my opinion. I went and looked at some of the stats before we got in here, and he is third for saves per 90 out of players with more than 10 starts. For Reading, and he is fourth for expected goals on target prevented per 90. So he basically is worth goals by himself. So yeah, really, really good player who's just gotten better and better the more he's played for Reading, and it's noticeable when he's not in the team.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, there's some good ones there. I mean, honestly, let us know what you think, because I found that really difficult in terms of picking the most improved player, because what do you judge it on? Most improved is a very subjective thing. I mean, I do honestly think Charlie Savage is in there in terms of his goal involvement. As Ryan pointed out earlier, he's the top in terms of goal involvements this season for us.
Right.
But there's so many players in there really that you could think about.
I think it's a credit staff, by the way, the coaching staff, both departed and still there, and the guys in the academy and all the way through. Is it the job of coaching now more than ever, when there are guys who do all the finances and stuff and the transfers higher up in the boardroom. The job of coaching is to improve players and game management, and they are doing a really good job of improving these players at the moment and managing games in a way that has led to, I think, fewer of these games we've had in the past 5 years where you go down 2-0 away from home and suddenly it's a 5-0 loss. There's been fewer of those. The games have been managed better, as well as the players improving. So you're right. There are tons of players who have improved for Reading in 2024.
But we said this, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago on the pod, Sellers he couldn't go and get other players. So he had no choice but to make the ones that he had better, regardless of their age. And I think he did that. And I think, I don't want to turn this into the Sellers, I was going to say memorial then. He's not died. Well, it was technically, I suppose he has, he's gone to Hull. But, in terms of what he was able to do was incredible. And I think this is why he'll struggle at Hull, quite frankly. I think he will find it very, very difficult because their solution will be, well, to go out and buy some more players or whatever. Couldn't do that at Reading. And that really did build that kind of close-knit, community in terms of dragging those players up and making them be better. So, yeah, really, really difficult one to call this one. This one, I hate the name of it. Hal Robson-Kanu Underachiever Award. And I've said this before, and I know it wasn't a Reading shirt, but he scored the best goal I have ever seen in my life playing for Wales against Belgium.
Goals, then.
Unbelievable goal.
Yeah.
Incredible scenes, absolute scenes there. So, yeah, anyway, but this is called the Hal Robson-Kanu Underachiever Award.
Yeah.
As regular listeners will know. Previous winners will not surprise you to know that Hal Robson-Kanu won it in 2013 and 2014. So there was clearly a vendetta from the host at that time against him. Jordan Abita, Jake Cooper, Sonny Aluko in 2017 and George Priscus, he got it in 2019 and 21. And then previous nominees include Jeff Hendrick. I forgot about him as well, really.
Wow.
Ovia Jaria, Femi Aziz, they're all in there, really. So, yeah, underachiever for you, Ryan. Sounds savage, doesn't it, really? But, yeah.
So, I struggle with this one, to be fair, but I said Kanaya Boyce Clark. I'm a man who's played a lot of Football Manager, and on Football Manager, I know it's not real life. He has a great potential, and you hear these things from academy level as well, that he's going to be the next big thing. I think he was linked to Man United as well when he was like 16. And every single time I've seen him, and I mean this in the greatest respect possible, he's been useless.
Yeah, he's not been good, has he?
Made a mistake in every game I've watched him, whether it was the pre-season this year, I think it was against Cardiff, where he's passed it to the striker a few yards out. He had a period where Pereira was injured, where he wasn't, I think Leighton Orient, where he wasn't great either. He struggled, bless him. And so for me, underachiever, I'd say him, just because in my head I expect him to be a lot better than what he has been.
Yeah, Ross?
Oh, I've got David Button.
We are both goalkeepers, savage.
Yeah, we've got both the other goalkeepers. Yeah, David Button, for me, I don't think that anybody needs any more rundown of that, and I don't want to be needlessly mean. It has not been the greatest year for Mr. David Button. Capped off in the funniest possible way by him racing, halfway out of his own half to come and just clean out the last man for some reason against Walsall and set Reading on the path to glorious defeat. He did at least show us how decent the fourth goalkeeper is in that game, though. So that was good. So David Button, very odd year. Yeah, just the strangest thing ever. The fact that he came, if you guys remember against Walsall, coming out and just chopping the man down, and he'd come out and made a similar mistake about 2 minutes earlier. And instead of learning his lesson, he's like, right, I haven't given the ref enough of a decision there. Let's get on with it. So, David Button, very funny.
Both goalkeepers. Okay, fair enough. Mine's Nigel Howe.
I thought about that one.
Because what's his job? To sell the club, and facilitate that. And quite honestly, and I know we had Sarah on from Star in the aftermath of his quite disastrous press conference, but up until that point, I was sort of on the fence, really, given the benefit of the doubt. But when he said the things he said in that press conference, and they weren't taken out of context, regardless of what context those things were said, it was completely, in my opinion, inappropriate, disrespectful to a lot of people that are putting time and effort and everything else. And I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous. So he's my personal underachiever of the year.
That's a good shout.
Wim has gone for Sam Hutchinson. A bit savage, but anyone who hasn't actually been at the club for...
It's not saying savage. I think you...
All right, brutal.
You mean Charlie? Yeah.
Yeah, all right, brutal. Quite brutal to pick Hutchinson. I mean, we all know we have very strong opinions about Sam Hutchinson in this group. Adam Jones, again, has gone Sam Hutchinson. Mark Mayer has gone for Harley Dean. I think Harley Dean's on a bit of a redemption arc at the moment, I have to say.
As well, saying he's underachieving as well, because he wasn't spectacular last year, but I wouldn't say he was disastrous.
Yeah.
I thought he was always solid.
I think...
Okay, he was okay.
And listen, he's been honest when he's talked. He's been absolutely honest, brutally honest about things. And I like that. He's not kind of tried to cut the cloth on it. This is where we're at and this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Ollie's gone for Sam Hutchinson as well. Sim's gone for Dayong Pang. It's best I don't comment on that.
I think he went for him last year too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think people know exactly how I feel about that man, having met him on a number of occasions. But yeah, not good really. Right, let's talk about golden moment then. So it seems a bit churlish to bring that up when it's been a really difficult. I say it's been difficult. Obviously, the weird thing about this calendar year is it's been broken up into parts. So we had really, really positive end to 23-24 on the pitch. The Blackpool home game was absolutely fantastic. Like, great atmosphere. Like, everyone was pretty chill. We were looking to better days over the summer in terms of takeover, which never happened. But then there's been kind of good stuff on the pitch, in terms of results and everything else. I mean, could go over previous ones. 2015 Bradford FA Cup win, which was obviously excellent. The Fulham second leg playoff win in 2017. The Wigan comeback in 2019. The fans return after COVID against Forest, when there's only about 2,500, 3,000 of us in the ground in 2020. So, yeah, I mean, there's some feel-good ones there. I mean, Ross, let's start with you, mate. Golden moment?
For me, it was hitting the playoff places for the first time with this squad. And what we talked about with the growth of the squad and the improvement and the talent and all these kinds of things. But teams that we're currently ahead of: Barnsley, Bolton, Charlton, Blackpool, Wigan, Rotherham, Peterborough. I predicted us to have a good season, but to be ahead of all of those teams after Christmas with this team, with the depth issues and everything, I think that they are good, but they are also overachieving. And hitting the playoff places was just a really nice sort of cap for what on the pitch has been a pretty good year for Reading Football Club.
Ryan, from you, mate?
I've said keeping Bearwood, just because I think Bearwood is essential to the future of this football club and the rebuild that we will eventually go on. Keeping that as ours, one, because it annoyed Wickham, but two, because it also is just so pivotal for everything we do and the future of the academy, whatever it may be. It's been the backbone to the squad this season. I mean, 70% of our squad's academy based. It's essential. So keeping Bearwood and keeping it as ours, definitely the golden moment.
Wim's gone for, securing safety, basically, at the end of last season. Adam's gone for Blackpool, the final day of the season, third goal going in, great atmosphere. He's right, fantastic. Probably the best atmosphere I've seen for years there, really. Felt like a big game, even though it wasn't. There was a lot of people there.
It was a fun one too. They broke I think it was the most goals scored in a season for 10 years. Because of that game, they needed to score 3 in that game. Yeah, and I remember, talking that week and being, I don't know if they're going to do it. And then they did. So there we go.
Yeah, as well was debuted that day. The new home kit.
The surprise home kit. Yeah. Good. That was fun, actually. Tim kind of gave us he's like, maybe you'll see something soon. Yeah, on the pod.
I love that. I need to buy that shirt, actually. I need to get that shirt. It's probably one of my favourite home shirts for years.
Quick, other golden moment, just quick golden guests. It's been a really good year of guests. I just wanted to shout out quickly. We had was it Mark from the Port Vale podcast? Who was very
January.
Good. Yeah, that was fun at the start of the year. The obvious ones, we've had Ruben and Noel. James Oliver Pierce, really, really interesting. Matt from the Amazons, really, really good. Really, really good chat. I want more people to listen to that. And Sarah, obviously, always good value. And then on the women's side, we had Abby and Peter. So, yeah. And Ryan, I guess. So, good year.
Exactly. Mark Mayo said purple turtle scenes after the final day of the season. What else? Yeah, and Ollie says backs that up by saying not had a connection like that between fans and players for years. For a moment that he was actually there for full-time scenes at Bristol Rovers when we secured, nearly said promotion, a survival. The lamp of appreciation against Blackpool when loads of people showed up, that was for Sim. I mean, you could class it as a comedy moment, but I really enjoyed Sellers dancing on the bus, to be honest with you. It's rare that you see. And I'm not mining people's social media or players' social media at all. I don't think I follow any Reading players on anything really. But, to see that sort of connection at that time and just it being really natural and organic, I just thought it was great. And obviously we asked him about it when he came on in September. But it was just a really good moment. And I think, for me, it's not a moment so much, but the fact that there are a core of fans that are still with the club, I think is massive. The away following has been absolutely excellent. And, you know, I know, and people know that I'm not able to get to many away games at all. I think Ross has done more away games than I have this season. But, like, you know, the support that those people give the team, you know, week in, week out, away from home and at home to some extent is just exceptional. And I think there's very few people go on about big clubs and, you know, Leeds would always take more and all this kind of nonsense. But actually, when it matters, we're still selling out random places up and down the country and taking huge numbers of fans to watch these games. So for me, that's a real golden moment. Let's flip it a little bit with worst moment. I mean, where do you want to start? Like, honestly, we could do a separate pod on that, really, couldn't we? Right. I think, I don't know why I'm laughing. Worst moment for you?
Pitch invasion at Port Vale, because I remember being stood there, I personally wasn't on the pitch. I was stood there just watching it going, it's really got to this. It is really to us being this low that we've got fans on the pitch. And I remember at the time you had the group of people on the pitch, which I understand their frustration, but then you had the people in the stands as well going, just get off the pitch, we want to play. And it was just kind of one of those where it was like, yeah, we've really got to the point we've had to cancel a game and save the future of the club. So yeah, worst moment's probably pitch invasion for me.
Ross?
I've gone for losing Sellers and not being allowed to have nice things, you know, just general sense of, you know, like we've put together a really good team that are, you know, yes, overachieving a little bit, but also there's a lot of room for these players to continue to grow to the point where this becomes their normal output level. But it's tough to say that, you know, they'll stick around or that we'll be able to hold on to this team. And a lot of that came through, you know, a lot of that was brought home for me through the moment where we lost Sellers. You know, I'm excited for Hunt now, you know, and you know, now that he's won his first games, I'm, you know, hopeful for the future as well. I think that, as you said earlier, Sellers improved while he was with us, so Hunt can as well. But losing Sellers at that moment when it was clear that, you know, of how good of a coach he was, that was a really tough moment, I think. I
mean, there's been so many, you know, that there's really been some real low point, really dark moments. And I think you talk to the fan base in general, that there'll be different levels of when they think it's over. You know, that cycle that Sim always puts up on the Tilehurst end feed in terms of we're so back, you know, and we're out, and it just goes round and round and round. In terms of, I mean, Wim has said that the Coig takeover collapse, which, you know, was a pretty bad period of time because it looked like, for all intents and purposes, that was it. You know, that was done and dusted. You know, Adam said the training ground news breaks from the Athletic, and we know that was a very difficult period of time for the people that we talk to at the club on a regular basis. You know, that was really hard to have that, A, as news anyway, but B, the way it came out and kind of the way that people's hands were forced potentially with that. So, you know, that one wasn't a good period of time at all. Mark Mayo, youngsters leaving in January for pennies. I mean, God, yeah, like we had a lot of players leave. You know, Vickers was one, Nelson Abbey went. You know, there was a number of players that left for nothing, basically, you know, at that period of time. And it could have derailed, you know, what was trying to be built, but it didn't, you know, and you can bring it back to the you know, the golden moment in terms of everyone coming back together and actually getting better results in a way. What else we got? Ollie Allen, the women's team. I mean, we haven't even touched on that, you know, and he says a women's team, the WSL side only 2 years ago being demoted to Tier 5 and basically amateur football, perhaps the most criminal thing Dayong has overseen. I mean,
that is a bad one.
Horrendous, absolutely horrendous period of time for everyone connected. You know, a lot of staff went. Obviously, pretty much all the players went. You know, we talked about Charlie Escort earlier, but it's great she's back involved in media with the club. But honestly, the amount of quality that had to be removed that was still there in championship level, which was, you know, very, very unusual at that time anyway. All of them just go. You know, horrendous period of time there.
It is frustrating after because it does feel like a legacy of players from Reading lost, for sure. I was really bummed when I saw Fran Kirby go to Brighton. You know, she's obviously on the tail end of her career, a great player, but there's no reason that, like, if Reading weren't a WSL club, why she couldn't have come back to Reading to, you know, do what she's doing now with Brighton, basically. So And that's, again, it's like a team that's come from the lower leagues, Brighton, and just through a period of success, kind of like we had in the early, in the mid noughties, early tens, have just pushed themselves up there. So yeah, it's annoying. That was one for me that bummed me out about the women's team.
Sim said the Bearwood saga, when I thought the club was about to die. That was a very, very dark period for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For me, it was the interview that Pan gave to TalkSport about, telling us to be patient and all the rest of it. And it was at that point that I realised, I kind of already knew it really, but kind of confirmed that the people that are in charge of our club have absolutely no idea what they're doing and what they are going to do and what they're doing day to day. And I think for me, that was just, and I don't listen to TalkSport. I'm not keen on it really, but I listened to that and I just absolutely sickened, to be honest with you. So that for me was one of the worst moments. Comedy moment then. It's kind of, it's a roller coaster. Just like this year. It's up and down. It's up and down.
Really
previous comedy moments, we've had the Burnley pitch invasion in 2014, which was hysterical because one of the best goals I've ever seen scored by a Reading player at home. Gareth McCleary's belt.
Yep.
And then we thought we were in the playoffs, or some people thought we were in the playoffs, and there was a pitch invasion, and we weren't, and it was just a mess. Lady Sasima's song in 2015, they put, and again, it's just a vendetta here, how Robson Kanu goal for Wales in 2016 was a comedy moment, apparently.
Yeah.
I guess because he never did it for us.
My gosh.
Ipswich scoring from our corner in 2018, that wasn't great. The Ayub Timby Kenyan fandom in 2020.
That was great.
And then the Dayong running on the pitch in 21. Followed closely by him down the pub in Wigan. So
that feels like a message in a bottle from another time, what you just heard.
Comedy moments then, Jan.
Shall I? I've got the whole Femi Aziz leaving saga. The club allowing Femi to go, promising Sellers he could have a replacement. The EFL stepping in to go, excuse me, no, you can't have a replacement. Joe Higg then somehow stepping in and getting... And
you would have walked, wouldn't you? If you were Sellers at that point, you want to know what? I'm literally dealing with clowns here.
That is my conspiracy theory. Is that the Cohig deal collapsing wasn't the point that push Sellers, or the whole that was the point when he realized, I think I gotta go. Was the Femi Aziz scenario when he asked for a football piece of information for him to make a decision on, and he was given the wrong piece of information. My conspiracy theory is that is when Sellers was off I trot when a nice offer comes along, basically.
I'd love to know who told him that. I'd love to know. So, go for it. Computer says yes, mate. Fill your boots.
Yeah.
You can have anything up to a ceiling of 850 grand. Knock yourself out.
Yeah. Oh, did I say 150 grand? I made 850.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Pence. Yeah. I mean, that was bad. That was really, really bad at that point. And I personally, I just laughed because I was like, it's not a surprise, that's happened. But
yeah, that was bad.
Really bad.
Funny though. But anyway,
Ryan, anything from you, mate, on a comedy moment?
I mean, this year's been very, especially towards the end of the year, it's been very much, if you don't laugh, you'll just cry. So for me, is our former prospective buyer supposedly suing us for loss of profit.
Yeah.
I remember reading it and I was just like, oh, brilliant. Anything else while we're here? Anything else for us? That's just,
It's one of those where in the time we were at the club, we would have made 24 million. Don't think so, somehow. Just scratch my chin on that. Don't fit the maths add up there.
Football clubs are famously profitable. So,
especially in League One. 24 million. Incredible.
Birmingham are expecting a huge return on their investment.
Yeah, exactly. The merchandising arm of League One across the globe is massive. So, it's quite incredible.
People are buying Leyton Orient shirts the second they hit the store. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sold out. Sim said, I mean, this wasn't this funny really, but I think he's clutching at straws. He says 4 Reading fans climbing into trees to watch the game at Oxford. I was at that game with him and he went, look, there's people in the tree. He thought it was hilarious. And I was like, it's not that funny. It's just ludicrous health and safety. That's all it is.
Just trying to point out the one away game you went to.
Yeah, exactly. He's done it. Yeah, he stitched me right up with that one. Ollie says the Wickham training ground purchase collapse. This is quite funny. he's put read the fucking small print next time. It's just like, and who knew that Woking and Borough Council would come up with a 95th minute winner to go, you can't buy it, mate. Like, it's not going to happen, so fair play to them. Maybe they're our hero of the year. I don't know. Maybe we do that. The Woking and Borough Council award for heroes. Maybe we start doing that one. What else we got? Mark Mayo says, personally, it's the fact that we're in the total nightmare and yet I didn't see us lose in person in 2024. Since watching us go down at Huddersfield, his record is 1 drawn 2, lost 0. He's only been to 9 games since we got relegated to League One.
Sim's been up and down the country enough times to get to the freaking moon in that amount of time. Yeah. So there you go.
Adam Jones has gone for Pang. We'll leave it at that. I think obviously people social media in terms of some things that he might have been looking at on social media. We can read between the lines there in terms of people that was funny. And then Wim says the training ground deal collapses because they haven't read the plan and permission. Yeah, I mean, that was quite amusing, actually. That
Brilliant.
I could just see it now. Like, someone's got, yeah, right, so they've put in this application to buy it. And, Janice from, I don't know, planning permission has gone, no, they can't do that.
Gives you a lot of hope, doesn't it, that the same party has really thought through their litigation against the club right now.
Yeah, exactly. And no disrespect to Janice who's listening to this, but you can just imagine it, can't you? Like, cheese sandwiches in the Tupperware box. What you got on your list today? Oh, I've got this guy who's trying to build a shed in Lower Early. I've got this other thing in I don't know, Winnersh. And then I've got the training ground at Reading, Bearwood. Oh, it can't happen. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Wonderful.
So, that was a good one, really. Most missed. I don't know what my comedy moment is, actually. I don't know.
We got a lot of good ones there. Let's do the most.
We got some good ones, yeah. Most missed award. So we're talking about players here. What are we saying for most missed?
Do you want to go first then? Because you didn't do the comedy one. Yeah. You go first.
Well, I mean, the players that we've lost, I mean, at the time I would have said Nelson Abbey. I thought he was a massive loss, but actually, when you look at the 2 players we've got there now, in Benge and Bindon, I'd stick my neck out and say they're better than them. Better than him for sure. I mean, it has to be Aziz, doesn't it? There's no one else that we've missed. And I'm not even sure that without being disrespectful to him, I don't think he's massively altered the way that we play. And it's like, wow, we've got a massive hole here or whatever. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I think when Shane Campbell arrived and he was the replacement, it was like, oh my God, like, what is going on here? But I think he's done really well since he's grown into that.
I think we pointed out at the time that Chem's numbers for last season were similar to Femi's numbers. So, per 90. It didn't seem like it was going to be a huge drop-off with Femi. I'll give you a most missed. Clinton Mola.
I was about to say Clinton.
Played very well against us for Bristol Rovers earlier this year, and we literally have been speaking about a left-sided issue. And a left-back issue in this particular pod. So I wonder if us losing Mola was more to do with us not being able to give him the wages that he wanted or something like that, because I think that's a player that we probably should have kept around. Clinton Mola would be the one for me who's most missed.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Femi Aziz, but Clinton Mola is definitely on the list just for the numbers really at left-back that we're struggling with.
Yeah.
I know he wasn't amazing, but also I'm not saying he's the most missed, but Matty Carson being released as well, I think was a tad bit of a strange one, given the fact struggling with left backs. But I'm not saying he's the most missed. I think it's Aziz personally, but Carson's was always a strange one at the time.
Matty Carson reminded me of a trebuchet in that he really could sling him, but he needed a little bit of time. You had to wheel him up, get him set up, for these kind of things. Like, he was incredible with a free kick, but he'd also be liable to. There was the most Matty Carson mistake I ever saw, where he ran like a shot out of the blue to make sure a ball didn't go out of play, and he stopped it on the line, and his momentum carried him through over to the advertising hoardings. And meanwhile, the attacker just comes in behind him, takes the ball, and goes off to cross it in. Basically, I was like, yeah, that was the issue with Matty, unfortunately.
I just wanted to double check that by trebuchet you mean a type of catapult that uses a rotating arm with a sling attached to the tip to launch a projectile. It was a common, powerful siege engine until the advent of gunpowder. Is that the trebuchet you were talking about?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, excellent.
Send me an image of that so I can put it on the clip already. So
Can you do the Age of Empires 2 one? That would be
because I just wanted to make sure that my general knowledge was in place for that. But that's fine as long as we
good.
do that.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, everyone said Aziz, apart from Sim, obviously, because he's difficult. He said Pizza Cup, Paul McIroh, and his Pizza Cup heroics.
I literally forgot about Paul McIroh.
Literally.
Yeah.
He is basically the football player equivalent of a shrug, Paul McIroh.
We played one game with Pizza Cup Paul in 2024, and that was the defeat to Brighton.
Yeah. Shut up, Sim, idiot. Ryan's just done you there. Right, final one then. Breakout prediction. Difficult. A lot of players. Let me read through what the gentlemen have said.
Yep.
Start with Sim again. So he's gone for John Ryan. We have also got Akande from Ollie Allen. Don't know why I keep saying Ollie Allen. There's only one Ollie. Ollie said Akande. Mark said John Ryan when fit. Yeah, I think we'd probably consensus on him. Adam said Tyler Saki. Wim said Tuma. I will say Shea Spencer. I've been very impressed with what he's been able to do. Ryan, your breakout prediction?
Louis Holzman for, unfortunately, when I believe Bindon may leave in the next month. I think Holzman's got a big part to play in the second half of the season, and I've been quite impressed with him, to be honest, in the little spells that I've seen of him. I think he looks solid. Big shoes to step into, as we were talking about earlier, but Holzman.
I've gone very similar. I've got Kanu, just because I have Kanu a little bit ahead of Holzman in my unimportant personal rankings. Holzman I think that he's got a decent peg on him. He does like to hit the ball long, and he has found some decent passes in the time that he's had. He just has some... I mean, I think he's performed okay one-on-one in the sort of games like in the trophy and things like that, the games against slightly lesser opponents, but in the league, he looks a little bit behind just in his anticipation for me versus like League One strikers at the moment. But I agree with Ryan that when Bindon is gone, there's going to be, obviously a centre back is going to have to step into that role.
I would, I mean, I think Holzman's in spells has been okay. I obviously didn't have a great time at Lincoln when he got sent off, which was ridiculous defending really from him. Striker just pulled him in, got him on the wrong side, and that was it. Game over, really. I like Holzman. When I saw him play for the under-21s last season. I think he has got a bright future. I hope he can bounce back from these games where for me personally, he's not looked great, but I agree with Ryan. I think it's a massive opportunity for him, and it's going to be highly unlikely that we can go and get anyone else. It's highly unlikely that we're going to be able to keep Campbell really from his loan from Wolves. But with Holzman, he's almost a ready-made fit in terms of filling in. Nowhere near as the level of Bindon, but he knows the squad. He's been around Noel Hunt enough to know the expectations. So across, he's going to be all right. Let us know what you think in terms of the awards as well. Send us an email if you agree, don't agree, drop comments in when it goes up online, whatever really. But always interested to know what you guys think in terms of those categories. That kind of draws to a close the awards for 2024. A small clap for them as well. We're going to do a quiz. We're going to rattle through the quiz. Very quick preview of Cambridge, and then we'll call it quits on 401. Very short break. Welcome back to the Tilehurst Podcast, episode 401. As we said all the way through, it's been going for 10 years pretty much. No, 11 years. What we're talking about. 400 episodes. Do the maths better. So in honour of that, has put a quiz up for myself and Ryan, which I'm going to be tragic at. My trivia is not good.
Oh, we'll see.
My good friend Darren, he's a United fan. He's a proper United fan.
Yeah.
You could ask him any player that he's seen throughout the years playing for United, and he will tell you the boots that they were wearing. He's that good at trivia.
Right.
For me, I can't even remember the games I've seen this season with Red.
Is that trivia, or is that just something else related to feet? That's my question.
Sadness, loserville. But I was always really impressed. Paul Scholes, used to wear whatever,
Yeah.
Whatever. Right, so you're going to hit us with these questions. There are 10 questions.
Yeah, so it's 10 questions. Do you want... I've got multiple answers for you to choose from if you like. Do you want to... So tell you what, I'm going to read out the question, and then the two of you guys are going to decide between yourselves whether you'd like to have the multiple choices. Okay?
Okay.
So you two can decide. And if we do multiple choice, you can have 1 point. And if not, you can have 2 points. Okay? All right. So there are 10 questions. They are from the summer of 2013 until now. The best period for Reading Football Club, obviously. So they're going to start with some questions that were a little bit longer ago. I'll keep score over here, and I'll keep you guys up to date. Question number 1. Who was Reading's top championship scorer in the 2013-14 season? Do you want multiple choices?
I think I know this, but Ben, I'll leave it up to you.
I mean, I've got absolutely no idea.
All right, I'm going to give you multiple choices for this one. Your choices are Nick Blackman, Adam Lafondra, or Pavel Pogrebniak.
No, because
And this, we'll say Ryan can go first this time.
I'm going to stick with what my first answer would have been, Adam Lafondra.
Okay, Ben, who are you going to go for?
20.
Yeah. You'll have to go first next time. We'll do it that way. And yeah.
I would have gone Nick Blackman.
Okay. Is that your final answer?
Well, yeah, because I
All
can't
right.
remember if that was reaching his peak at that point or whether
Correct.
it was a season after.
That's why I threw him in there as a tester, but the answer is Adam Lafondra.
Yeah, I say that.
I said
Ryan.
no to the multiple choice because it was the first name that sprung into my head, but when you said Pog, I got a bit confused.
Hogg and Nick Blackman, they're both in there to try and sow some seeds of doubt. Speaking of sowing seeds of doubt, which future Reading captain was one of the few good purchases made by Ron Gourlay? And I can give you multiple. I'm just going to give you multiple choices.
Yeah.
Your options are John Swift, Sam Smith, or Andy Yeardom. Wow, you've gone first now. That's all right. You've given
I
away
was
your
going to say
chance.
Andy Eden.
All right. Well, you both got a point for that one. The correct answer is indeed Andy Yeardom.
Has Sam Smith been Reading captain?
I think once or twice, maybe. No,
Is
I
he?
don't think so. I was again trying to throw a cat amongst the pigeons.
He's thrown a red cod in amongst the Dolphins.
I'm throwing a Kingsley among the wildebeest. So, yeah. Anyway, question 3. Which of these players made the most appearances for Reading in this period? Your options are Danny Williams, Jordan Abita, and Yaku Mate.
Good Lord.
All right, Ben's going to go first this time.
Jordan Abita.
Okay. Ryan, who are you going for? Danny Williams, Jordan Abita, or Yaku Mate?
I'm going to go Danny Williams.
Correct answer. It's Jordan Abita. Oh, Ben has got. Oh, I tripped you up there. Sorry, guys. My bad.
I thought you said it was Danny Williams. I was Jordan Abita.
Jordan Abita is the correct answer.
Jeez.
So
I
it's something
thought
like
Kingsley got it.
160 odds versus 140 and 130. So they're all right around each other, those boys. But I think the academy time, really pulled up Jordan Abita. All right, question 4. Can you name the line that comes after "They Call Us the Royals" in Lady Sasima's song? So I'll read out the 3 options I've got. It's like the kings of our land, we stand for Reading. With our hearts together, we'll defend the Royals. Or with our might, we'll defend the glory of Reading.
With our might,
Ryan, you can go first.
I believe.
With our might. Okay, Ben, what are you going to go for?
Yeah, I was going to go with that one as well.
It's an earworm. It never leaves your mind. So that's a point for both of you. That is correct. Yeah.
Tricky. There was some good alternatives though. I have to say, I was about to jump on YouTube and try and find it.
That's where ChatGPT is quite good. Just take this, turn it into similar
that.
garbage. Yeah. Nice. So, question number 5. The scores are 3 each right now. You guys are doing good.
No,
So-
I might need the tiebreaker.
Yeah, we might need the tiebreaker. So there we go. Against which team did Michael Morrison score after a long, mazy run that saw him earn his nickname Maradona? And your options are Rotherham, Bristol City, or Stoke. Ryan, you go first this time.
Bristol City.
Ben, who are you going for?
Do I get a bonus point for the month?
No, you can't have his point for
Well-
the month.
Do you know what? I don't know is the honest answer. But the fact that I was going to say Rotherham,
All right,
but
well, we're gonna
Ryan was straight in there, and
Yeah, I've kind of ruined this now, haven't I?
I'll stick with Rotherham.
Okay. All right. The correct answer is Bristol City.
There you go. But
I was trying to pick a team, other teams that play in red.
what was the month? Go on, Ryan. What was the month?
February, I believe, in the COVID season. Pancake Day. I
Very
want
good.
to say.
Very good. Question number 6. All right, so Ryan's taken a 1-point lead. It's 4-3 going into the back half here. Which player represented Reading at the 2022 World Cup? Ben.
Why would you ask me this question?
Wait, I'll give you. Do you want me to give you
give me
three
the
options?
multiple choice.
Yeah.
Man.
I
Right,
guess you're going to give
honestly,
you those.
because otherwise people are going to be like, this idiot knows nothing about it. He's just like he's not even
I know
proper. I can't remember.
Andy Yiadom, Alan Halilovic, or Achman.
Wait,
Ramen.
we got that
Ryan,
wrong.
what's your answer?
Yeah, Ramen.
Rahman is the correct answer. Andy Yiadom made the squad for, I think, the qualifiers, and then he was in the squad a few times right before the World Cup, but he did not make the World Cup team. I think Halilovic has made a World Cup team. I'd have to look that up. Anyway, so that's a good one. All right, question number 7. Against which team did Pauno say, "We go again and we go hard," before proceeding to lose another game? This was part of the 9-game losing streak, during which,
Do you mean which team did he say that we were going to go hard? Or after?
which team are we going to go hard against? Yeah, exactly. So your options are Preston, Millwall, or Luton.
Luton.
Ben's gone for Luton. These might be too easy, guys. The answer is Luton.
I just remember it. I was like, oh, okay, which game?
Yeah.
Where were we? Who did we play against when he gave that?
We just get pumped by Fulham 7-0.
I think we might have done. Yeah. We might have just been absolutely thrashed.
I thought it was an away game. He said that.
Maybe it was. It was a bad one.
Yeah.
That's the best comedy moment since the podcast
Ever.
started.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Okay.
is wonderful.
Good question, that.
Question number 8. What team, and Ryan's going to go first this time, what team was the first game with a... Which team did Reading play against in the first game with a small number of fans back after the pandemic? Was it Middlesbrough, Norwich, or Nottingham Forest?
It was Nottingham Forest.
Ben, what's your answer?
Yeah, it was. Do you know, I made my Sky Sports debut that day for the Tilehurst End as well.
Very nice team. There
A
you
bit
go.
of trivia that no one cares about.
Good little bit of trivia, that. Yeah. All right. I think this question will separate the men from the boys.
No, don't say that.
So here we go. Which 2 players were tied in scoring the most goals in the 9-0 rout over Exeter? Your options are Paul McIroo and Taylon Harris and Don Ballard, or Don Ballard and Paul McIroo.
Jesus Christ.
Ryan, no wait, Ben's going first this time. So you want me to read the entire thing out again?
No, I think it was McIroo and Harris.
Okay. All right. Ryan, what is your answer?
Same answer, McIroo and Harris.
You separated the boys from the boys. It's both wrong. The answer is Don Ballard and Paul McIroo. Don Ballard briefly looked like a world beater for Reading before his foot was the wrong way around. So
It was a horrible injury, that. Do you know, I never rated him. I don't think he's very good at all, but it's just me. Really? What? So they both scored the same amount in the game?
Both scored 2 goals in that game. I thought there was one player who'd scored more, but I was
thought
wrong.
Harris, how many did Harris score? Did he score what?
Harris got 1. Yeah. And then Harris went...
got a hat-trick, which is why I was... no. Who do I think... No, that's makes
Someone
sense.
got an own goal, so it might have been one that kind of went in off a butt. Anyway, question number 10. Which player scored the most league goals in 2024?
Jeez.
3 options, league goals. Your 3 options are, and these are the top 3, Lewis Wing, Harvey Nibbs, and Sam Smith. And
Don't know.
let's see, we'll have Ryan go first this time.
It's between 2, because I don't think
Right.
Wing scored that many.
Wing only scores ones that are worth 2.
I'm going to give it to Harvey Nibb.
Okay. Ben, who scored the most league goals for Reading in 2024?
So it's between Nibbs, Wing, and Smith, right?
That is correct, yes.
I am going to take a punt on Sam Smith.
The correct answer is Sam Smith. Fantastic. Well done. So let me see. Let me count here. All right. I think we have a 7 out of, no, wait. And yeah, 7 out of 10 for both of you guys so far. Very good.
Tiebreaker.
in your final. All right, I don't know if either of you guys are gonna be able to get this, so we might end up with a good old fashioned English draw in a minute. But here's my bonus question: can you name?
How is a draw English, by the way? Like, surely that's just
draws in America. They don't like them.
Sure. All right, yeah. Actually,
Shootout or something like that. We don't do ties over here.
Overtime, double overtime.
Yeah, exactly. We'd rather
play until someone dies. Time.
Yeah, basically. All right. Can you name the two players who signed short-term deals in February and March 2022 to assist in Reading's 150th year relegation battle and then hardly featured? They made 2 starts between them. I will give you a point for both of them, for either of them remembered.
Can I go?
I will let one of you have a guess at one of them first.
All right. Martin Keown and Les Ferdinand.
Yeah.
No, that's not him. That's 2002.
Ryan, have you got a guess for either of them?
Brandon Barker.
Brandon Barker is one of them. That is correct.
Barker's one.
Can you name the other one, Ben, to produce a good old English draw?
No, the only one I could think of. No, he's too old. The only one that came to mind was Barker for me. I can't remember the last one.
Brandon Barker. Go ahead.
When did you say?
2022.
Ben doesn't get it. So I'll go
All
for
in
it.
First half season. Last chance.
With the Kenyan fella, was it Timbo?
That's a great guess.
Or if I got it wrong, yeah.
I'm gonna give you the answer. All right, Ryan, can you give it? You want to give it? Yeah.
Right, that's it.
Terrell Thomas.
Terrell Thomas is correct. That is correct. Well done, Ryan.
Okay, Ryan.
You've got the bonus round there to win the quiz.
Smashed it, mate. Congrats.
I thought you did pretty good, Ben. You said you were going to do finish.
It's the goal scorers that get me. I can never, ever remember.
Well, do you want to hear the most league goals in 2024? Sam Smith with 17.
There you go.
Bobby Nibbs with 12. Lewis Wing with 11. So
I thought it was Smith. I had a feeling it was Smith.
He's a good striker, Sam Smith. Anyway, that's my quiz. I hope you enjoyed it. If you played along at home, tell us how many you guys got. You know, I
or in the car commuting.
Yeah, exactly.
Not commuting this time of year, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Wow.
That's good. I enjoyed it. That was really good. Yeah, thanks.
Nice. Maybe I'll bring out one random trivia question every now and again.
I like the idea that people are playing it and they're pausing it before you give the multiple. If you were one of those people that played it and you paused it, great.
Yeah, if you can do that without the multiple choices. Again, things that should have been said before I did the whole quiz. You know,
You've got to get work to do before you end up on Channel 4, mate. I tell you, it's not. This is not vintage quiz mastery.
Underachiever of the year.
Yeah. Right. Well, look, without being disrespectful, talking about underachievers, we go to, it's not the Abbey Stadium anymore, is it? Is it the Abbey Stadium? Cambridge? The Cambridge Megaplex. Anyway, we go there on Wednesday. Right. Cambridge. Around the bottom half. I think they're in the relegation zone. Probably should have worked that out before we started. Basically, they're not doing well. And we were talking about, they are in the relegation zone, 17 points from 22 games. You know, probably one of the worst teams we've seen this year, really, in terms of this season, you know, along with Burton and Northampton. Real mess at the moment. Not looking good for them at all. 3 points from Crawley, who's sitting 21st. So what's that? You know, quite a few points away from safety, 5 points away from safety on Bristol Rovers. What are we saying about this game? Is this one of those ones where we should be winning, Ryan? Is it an expectant go there and get 3 points and get out of there and head to the Valley on this coming Saturday against Charlton? Where are we at with this game?
On paper, I would like to think we can win this game, but obviously it's away from home and we know what we're like away from home sometimes. I think the 6 points across the last 2 games has set us up quite nicely to say that I wouldn't be massively happy with a point, but I wouldn't also not take it, if that makes sense. Like, a point isn't the worst thing at the end of the day. So to get a point at Cambridge would be nice, but I won 3. They weren't particularly good when they came to the Majeski the other week. I think it's a good opportunity to just get another away win under our belt, to be honest.
I mean, Ross, they're going to be pretty demoralised. You know, they lost last time out, as I said, 5 points away from safety at the moment. Bristol Rovers, who was sat in 20th on 22 points. It's not looking good for them generally. Do we feel that we've got enough over this Christmas period that, in terms of, because I think the games have been quite kind in terms of the two games that we've had at home. And then we've got two, I think, relatively short, but they're not huge trips we're making, on Wednesday, and then of course on Saturday against Charlton. Yeah, it's not a long trip. It's not like you're heading up to, sort of Blackpool and Wigan and Rotherham and places like that. So, do we feel that we've got enough to be able to start the new year with 3 points?
I think there's some momentum now. There's some fuel in the tank right now, and the team are playing okay. I think the individual quality is still performing to the point where I think that was a lot of kind of what got us through this, in the game against Mansfield, is that they just didn't have players who could produce the little moments, like the little Bindon overhead kick or the through ball from wing to just pull apart, a well put together defense. So yeah, I think that while we're playing well like this, we just want to keep kicking on and keep picking up points. I think that, we will probably almost certainly lose players in the coming weeks, and that could, in fact, impact the mood. While we have, as many players as we do, want to just keep winning and keep that momentum going on the pitch for as long as possible.
Ryan, if everyone's fit that started the game against Mansfield yesterday, do you keep an unchanged side for the third game in a row, or do you make changes?
Good question.
Try.
I would lean towards keeping the same team just because no disrespect to the players on our bench, I don't think you bring any of those players on and there's a particular difference that they make as much. Maybe
no, I don't think so.
Here and there is maybe would be my only change, but apart from that, I'd keep the same team.
Same for you, Ross?
Yeah, probably. I think the only player that, weirdly, because he scored 2 goals in the last 2, that we want a little bit more out of is Kamara. Again, a player affected by not necessarily having familiarity with his, partners down the left-hand side. But yeah, I don't think there's really a whole lot that can be changed up top at the moment. And, the games against Walsall and Cheltenham in recent weeks, there's nobody up top in the academy right now that's screaming out, should be playing. So I think, Kamara hasn't, I don't think, been great so far despite his goals. But I think that, you keep him around for a bit longer and see if he can pull something out.
Well, look, some of us within the group are still erring on the side of caution, and we get 3 points on Wednesday. That puts us on 40. And to put that in perspective, Crawley are on 20 and they're sat in the last relegation spot at the moment. With the best will in the world, there is no way that Crawley are going to be able to pull out 20 points, bearing in mind they're already on 20 now, and we not win another game. So I think people talk about 50 and got to be conscious of any potential, although we don't know and it's unlikely at this stage that we would end up with points deductions, but 40 points gives us a really nice platform to be able to go, right, that's League One football pretty much, barring an absolute collapse and great results for lower teams to keep in this league.
Yeah.
You get to 50 and then you're looking, actually, that's more, playoff hunt, unlikely to be top 2, but you don't know. I mean, no one would have said that Wickham would have been third at Christmas, and they are. So you don't know, but 40 points is really nice. And then, of course, we go off to Charlton, which is an infinitely more difficult game on Saturday. So I think if you look at games in a block, Northampton, Mansfield and Cambridge, you get 9 points out of that. To be fair, it doesn't really matter what happens at Charlton because you've done the hard work in those games anyways. We've then got a nice little break when we welcome Burnley in the Cup on the 11th. And then I think for January, we're back to Saturday. So it's a nice little run of games that we've got coming up in terms of having the week apart for each of them. But it is vital that we say vital, that's a bit dramatic. Very, very important that we continue that run and win against Cambridge on Wednesday. So look, yeah. we'll see what happens, but we're in a good place on the pitch at the moment, league-wise. Nice position to be in heading into the new year, and long may that continue. For us, we're back to Monday now. You won't hear from us again until next Tuesday, technically next Tuesday morning.
We say that, I'm sure something will come up.
Well, yeah, exactly. But we're due to have Greg on from Sell Before We Die just to talk about where they're at as a group and what's going on off the pitch. The state of the club, really. We haven't really given that too much attention, so it's good to kind of wrap up that. Brian, very proud of you, mate. Keep doing what you're doing. Really appreciate the content you're putting out for the club, and hope that continues for you and into a into a longer term agreement and go from there. But, really, really pleased with what you're doing and, doing a fantastic job, and hopefully you enjoy it as well in some respects. Good experience either way.
Love that.
So, yeah.
Thank you guys for having me on.
No, absolute pleasure as always, mate.
I
Really,
needed
really good
someone
to
to
see you.
beat Ben, show how little he knows about the last 10 years, so
Listen, do it.
glad you could oblige.
Do it. Yeah, I know my limitations, and it's being an unprofessional joke of a podcast host, basically. So that's where I'm at. So yeah, Ross, thank you very much, mate. As always, have a good New Year.
Thank you,
Enjoy
sir.
yourselves. Americans celebrate New Year, don't they?
They do,
as the
yeah,
world.
yeah. I got a football match planned I got 40 football sickos joining me to ring in the new year with a match. So it'd be a good time. Yeah.
Well, enjoy it. Look after yourselves. Thanks for listening to this bumper pod. You might want to do it in 2 spells because it's quite a long one, I think. But as always, thanks for joining us on this journey. Have a really good New Year. If you're going up to Cambridge, enjoy it. Bring us back 3 points. We will see you again next week on episode 402 of the Tilehurst Podcast. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and come on you arse.